6 deeds to keep private around a single family office. Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa. Welcome to the Futurist Mindset Show. I'm here to introduce you to Reagan Rodriguez. And Reagan is a futurist who teaches stratosphere wealthy legacy families how to become impact investors. Hello, Reagan.
Hello, Tessa. How are you on this Friday afternoon, I should say?
I'm
Well,
wonderful. We
it's
are
not
coming to
Friday
you.
afternoon. It's not. We pre-record, so this is, and then it's live on
You
Friday.
will see it on Friday. That's
Yeah. So
absolutely
I am
true.
doing great on this Thursday evening, I should say, with you.
That's very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited because you have a topic that I think is really important to the family offices that you work with, because that is a big part of the businesses and relationships that you're always building. So tell us more.
Sure. I'm glad you brought that up because that is an area that people want to learn more about family offices, or sometimes I get people that are kind of brokers in my industry and they want to know. So when you think of a family office, I should say the Reader's Digest version is it's a net worth of 100 million or more. The actual definition is a holistic wealth solution for the ultra wealthy. I was fortunate to be invited maybe 15, 16 years ago to a very special club, Tessa, that was made up of some great people. It is called the New Canaan Society, and I specifically was part of the group that met in Naples, Florida. And then from there, I was introduced to another private club of legacy families that are giving away their wealth. And they are out of Palm Beach. And I seem to have more success when I networked on the other coast where I'm at now in Miami. So Palm Beach has been very fruitful for me in that family office space. And then from there, people in this other club that I was a part of in Palm Beach referred me to a elite group out of Nevis Island. And Nevis Island is AKA Billionaire Playground. And
It sounds fancy.
Yeah, if you just go to nevisisland.com, it's a beautiful website. You see people playing polo and riding horses. So here's what I learned by observing and asking questions was that usually what comes to mind is an air of mystery. As you mentioned in the beginning, that's why people don't know much about family offices. And this isn't an accident, guys. Okay? Keeping certain aspects of their private life hidden is one of the secrets that at least I've noticed to preserving the aura of a family office. People always refer to them as this sophistication. They're elegant. They operate under excellence. And before I go any further, the point of today's session is exactly that. I want to give you advice when communicating with a family office. I once had this waste to energy project, and they needed 300 million for this waste to energy plant. And during the due diligence time, I would send him, updates on how things were going, and he'd say to me, I want to talk directly to your investors. And before you say no, I'll even sign a confidentiality agreement. Then I would say, no. Okay. And
no.
then and this guy would get a little antsy, sometimes send some not very kind emails because he was impatient. Sometimes he'd call his broker and leave him nasty voicemails. And I, again, would be very well polished when I would deal with him. And after this kind of concluded, the broker met with me and he said, if you only knew what my client said about you or what we would both say about you. I said, yeah, go ahead and tell me. And he said, well, we just said that if you're this good and well polished with us, then we could just imagine. I mean, he said, we just want to be on a fly on a wall just to see how well polished you are with them. And I said, this is why I don't give you access to my investors. Okay, I don't give clients access to them. my investors are people that own family offices. And if you spoke to them the way you talk to me, they tell you to go pound sand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So no, I don't give people access to that family office. So let me get started here. I want to give you 6 deeds to keep private around a single family office. You should keep, here's the thing, you should keep private to maintain the same mystery of a family office.
Okay.
Yeah. So if someone is listening to this and says, I want to have the kind of contacts Reagan has, I'd love to be able to minister and go on yachts and private jets with these people. Keep in mind, to maintain that same mystery that a family office has about them, then what you are doing by being private is you are protecting their privacy. That's why they're referred to as elegance, right? You're protecting their elegance. The less people know about you, the less they can influence you. And the more control you have over your life, the more confident you'll be. The more you share, the more vulnerable you become. And let's be honest. If you're worth 100 million or $500 million, you don't genuinely care about their personal details. And most of your friends, they're just curious to find out more. So let me go back to number 1. Let's write this one down as goals and achievements. Keeping your goals and achievements, as I mentioned, private is crucial for maintaining your peace and protecting yourself from that negative energy, right? Mm-hmm. Because not everyone around you is rooting for you. Sometimes someone who appears to be a friend might actually be an enemy in disguise, filled with envy and jealousy. So if you share your goals and accomplishments with, these certain people, right, you can attract a wave of negativity into your life, right? Imagine talking about your future plans and recent successes with someone who seems to be a friend, but is actually envious and wishes that you had, you had what you have by doing this. Here's what I'm wanting to say. You inadvertently attract feelings of jealousy and even hatred, right? This can, and you know this, Tessa, this thing can affect your motivation and then your progress, because that negative energy around you becomes kind of like what we talked about a few minutes before we hit the record button, a distraction.
Right.
Another word to use may be an obstacle, because the jealous people might try to sabotage your efforts in subtle ways. They might offer discouraging advice, criticize your plans, or maybe simply try to undermine your confidence. Think about this. What happens in competitive environments, with colleagues? Here's what I've noticed. They hide their true intentions, sometimes by smiling and being kind. So to protect your dreams, it's better to share your achievements only with those who maybe know that the people that you know, okay, that you know well, and that you know that they have your best interests at heart. Okay.
Yes,
people
it is
who are
hard
truly
to find somebody to trust in that way, but I see what you mean. People that might go try to get around you to go to that person or that client. I mean, we have that a lot in our industry too. It's always so it's not cutthroat, but it feels a little bit like that.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, you're right, Tessa, you want to find people that are truly happy for you, that want to support you, right? And celebrate your victories, So be selective and trust only those who've already shown loyalty and unconditional support. Okay. This is why a family office, they will maybe hire one person that they trust really well and pay them a really good salary to manage all of their investments and be that gatekeeper. And so what they're going to be cautious on who they share things with.
Yes.
Okay. So let me, again, you want to achieve here's a better way to put it. There's no need to be loud or showy about your successes, right? Keeping a low profile is going to avoid attracting unwanted attention and is going to keep the focus on what truly matters, your personal and professional growth. Now, this doesn't mean you can't celebrate your victories. Okay, I didn't say that. Instead, share those joys with a trusted individual, those who generally are going to cheer for you. However, avoid broadcasting widely on social media. They don't do that. People of wealth don't do that. Don't do it even in casual conversations. Be reserved. Learn to be a little bit more reserved. Allow your actions and results to speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. I have noticed, okay, that protecting your goals and achievements is a wise thing to do. Really is. It's a smart practice that preserves your motivation, at least it does that to me, and avoids the influence of all the negative energies. Mm-hmm. Discretion. Have discretion about your goals. When you do that, that allows you to work in, here's a good word to use, in peace. Okay? Because you're free from that external interference. Again, what I have learned from observing family offices, this preserves their elegance. It strengthens their path, right? In keeping that focus, which is what really matters, and their growth. So let me move on to number 2, your acts of service and charity work. I'm going to recommend that you keep your acts of service and charity work very private. That's fundamental in maintaining that integrity of your intentions and protecting your emotional well-being. Tessa, we were just talking about this before. You're going to be teaching after this at a vacation Bible school at your church. As you very well know, what does the Bible say when you give to the needy? Do not let your left hand know what your right hand.
I was just wondering if you were going to bring that up.
Yeah. So that can be interpreted as an encouragement to humility and discretion in our good deeds.
Absolutely.
Right? That's why God's word says that. So my recommendation is that when you perform an act of kindness, whether it's a financial donation or volunteer work, it's crucial that that gesture is motivated by genuine compassion, not by the desire for praise or some kind of recognition.
Publicity.
Why? Yeah. And why do I say that? Because sharing those actions publicly, that can lead to, here's a good word, misinterpretation, right? It might make people think you're seeking attention or maybe trying to promote yourself. And then what does that do? That's kind of then going to devalue the act itself and create an environment of judgment, right? And envy, right? So it's important to understand that not everyone around you has your best interests at heart. Some might see your altruistic actions as an opportunity to diminish your value or question your true motivations. So again, keep your charitable acts private. That's going to help protect you from negativity, as I mentioned before, and is going to allow you to continue doing good without external interference.
I can imagine it brings in a lot of unwanted attention too. If you're over publicizing that you're giving money and people can see it online, they're going to start asking for it. I would imagine that would definitely, if you're keeping it private, it's keeping you giving less, you're getting less requests that are not in line with your vision and your goals.
Exactly right. Yeah. So with all that being said, this does not mean that you can't share your experiences with trusted people. What I'm saying is having a safe circle of friends and family who support your actions, that can be comforting, right? So instead of talking about your problems to the owner of a family office,
right.
Instead, you're going to find a friend that can offer the necessary kind of support, right? That's going to do that without judgment. And that is a good thing because it will help strengthen your determination to continue doing good. So another thing I've noticed, Maintaining that secrecy of your acts of service or whatever charity work also preserves the purity of your intentions. Remember, I mentioned before, it protects that misunderstanding, negative judgments. Let me add this: discretion in your altruistic actions. What does that really ensure? That you can continue doing good in a genuine way, as I mentioned before, free from external pressures, right? And what does it also do, Tessa? It keeps your dignity and elegance intact. Isn't that a good word to think of as
Yes.
a young woman like yourself? Think of that, elegance intact. So I've noticed that sharing your experiences only with those who matter can offer then that support, right? And support in what? In your altruistic journey. And then it's going to what? As I mentioned before, it's going to help maintain your inner peace. Okay, enough said on that. I think I repeated that a few times. Let's move to number 3.
Yes.
Financial status. Keeping your financial status private is also one of the pillars of true elegance, if you think about it, which is what a family office is all about. Revealing the details of your financial situation can be seen as boasting,
Yes.
right?
100%.
Yeah, it can be seen that way by some people. And here's the other problem. It's a vulnerability by others. So let's understand why this is crucial and how it can impact various areas of your life, right? Sharing information about your wealth, your salary, your investments, then that just attracts ill-intended intentioned people, I should say, right? The challenge that a typical family office experiences is that people approach them with interest in what in what you have rather than who you are. So
Yes.
think of celebrities. That's a good example, Tessa. Think of celebrities. Their lives are exposed in the media, and they constantly face these types of problems, keeping the information private. Okay, they don't do that, and by not keeping the information private, then they're not really protecting their emotional or physical well-being.
Yeah. Their life's
And
on display.
yeah, and then what happens then, Tessa? The risk of becoming a target of what I talked about before, someone envying you, um, even in a professional environment, for instance, revealing that you are financially comfortable can harm your growth. Let me the what I thought of on that is I had a friend once that used to post their vacations a lot online, and this person worked really hard, but they didn't get promotions. Instead, they gave them to somebody else that didn't brag that their husband did well. So that's why I bring this up, is because this shows how others' perceptions of our financial situation can influence their decisions and attitudes towards us. Another point is that on social media, we often feel the need to, share those achievements, or maybe we should call them acquisitions. However, think about this, that practice can be dangerous because when you're sharing details of luxurious trips, expensive purchases, or whatever your investments are, that can then attract unwanted attention. And as I mentioned before, criticism. And let's be honest here, most people are not genuinely interested in knowing about your financial life. They might just be curious. And this curiosity turns into, kind of malicious comments, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
that then maybe an envious attitude. So just again, how do you maintain your financial discretion? Avoid talking about your salary. Avoid talking about debts or investments in any kind of casual conversation. Do not discuss your finances. That's what I'm saying. Don't discuss it with colleagues. As I mentioned before, that can create competition and resentment. And on social media, be selective about what you share. Remember that less is more.
Yeah.
That true I learned this that true elegance lies in being reserved and discreet. Have you ever noticed this? That keeping your financial status private also contributes to an image of security and a self-confidence, right, about you, right? So what I've learned about being in these families' homes is that people who do not feel compelled to protect their worth through, that the displays of wealth are seen as more authentic and also trustworthy, right? Protecting the information about your financial status is a matter of security, as well as preserving that dignity. Being reserved about your finances allows you to kind of control that narrative of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it avoids judgments. It's just, you want to preserve that true essence, right? This way you remain secure and focused on what truly matters. And personal and professional development, if you want to grow in your personal development, you don't want distractions, okay? And I think that dangers that unnecessarily, that exposure that it can bring, okay? I think I've said enough on that one. Let's move to number 4. Intimate relationship details. Keeping the intimate details of your relationship private is one of the most defining traits that I've noticed in a typical family office. And I've noticed that in an elegant person. So whether you are a single, whether you're single or married, this discretion is, it really is crucial for preserving that intimacy and, in your life, right? So sharing these details with others can open the door to what ends up being then a host of problems, right? When you start discussing your relationships, maybe you've noticed this. I have, Tessa, that you discuss this with friends or even family. You're just inviting external opinions, right? You're inviting judgments. These opinions, I've also noticed, are often based on a limited personal experience, right?
Yes.
And may not have the reality of your relationship. For example, one person's perspective on what is right or wrong in a relationship can be completely different from yours. And then as a result, you might end up receiving advice that is inappropriate and potentially harmful rather than helpful. And I've also noticed that sharing intimate details, that you might expose your partner to unnecessary criticism, right? And then think about what that does. That then creates an environment of tension, distrust. It undermines the foundation of your relationship. And then certain aspects of your life should be kept between the couple.
Yes, I do agree. The publicity for a family can be very detrimental. If you're bragging about your success, it affects your family. If that makes sense, it's not just you, it's the people that are in the relationship. So 100%.
Thank you for that comment. That's right. That's another crucial point, is protecting your relationship's privacy on social media, right? The other thing I was going to say is that when you're facing relationship problems, it's natural to want to vent or seek advice, right? However, it's important to choose carefully whom you share these problems, okay? So the best approach, it's important to remember that keeping that intimate relationship details private does not mean that you're isolating yourself.
Right.
Okay. So if it is necessary, just seek that person that you trust, but do it with discernment and care. Remember that elegance, that lies in knowing which battles to face alone and which to share with discretion. So protecting the intimate details of your relationship is just going to be a practice that's going to safeguard your dignity and as I mentioned, that of your partner. Okay, by keeping that information private, you then avoid those external judgments. So protect intimacy, reinforce the foundation of mutual trust. In this way, you preserve elegance and strengthen the emotional bond and harmony in your love life. Let's go to number 5, okay? Disagreements, fights, and arguments. Keeping disagreements, fights, and arguments private, I use the word hallmark, it's also a hallmark of maturity. And as they like to say, what is another word for a family office? Elegance. So when you face conflicts with someone, the last thing you should do is make them public. You want to resolve those issues discreetly. When you do that, think about what you do. You're now demonstrating emotional control. If you're managing somebody's wealth in the hundreds of millions, they want to know that you have not, that you're discreet, that you have emotional control, and you respect both yourself and the other person involved. So talking openly about your personal conflicts is going to just be seen as a sign of immaturity. And when you start sharing that you are not speaking to someone or that you had a fight, what does that do? That then conveys an image of immaturity. It's a lack of professionalism, guys. If you want to work with and minister to the ultra wealthy, like I do, then know that certain issues should be resolved between the parties involved and not making these problems public. That's just going to worsen the situation. Okay? What I've noticed is that by keeping these disagreements private, you avoid creating a negative environment around you. Comments about fights and arguments, they then turn into gossip, right?
Yes.
And then
100%.
what that then affects your reputation, how others perceive you, and no one wants to be known as someone who's always involved in conflicts and drama. Think of respected public figures like, I'm giving this person for a reason, Victoria Beckham. The reason I mention her is that she runs a family office. If you look up their net worth, the Beckhams is like 450 million. Is it 540 million? She doesn't run it anymore. If you were to just go to Google and type in Beckham family office, you'll see that they've now hired somebody that runs that family office. I actually met her at a seminar about family offices. Her name is Carrie Parla, and she is from London. She does all of these things that I'm talking about. They pick somebody really good and keep in mind, some family offices, Tessa, they may have 10 homes. So if you're managing their family office, your job might be to visit their home that's in the south of France, just to make sure that people aren't squatting, right?
Right.
And you can go with your family and visit their other homes. So they're not going to just give access to anyone on that. So I want you to think about this also. You don't think that the Beckhams have problems, just like all the other celebrities? I'm sure they do, right? But have you ever noticed that they rarely, if ever, expose their personal conflicts to the public?
Right.
Think about that. Unlike Meghan Markle, right? A family office maintains that image of dignity, right? Of composure. So following the examples of the Beckhams, if you follow that example, you're going to do well in preserving your image, and you're also going to strengthen your relationships, right? It's going to allow conflicts to be resolved in, as I mentioned before, in a mature and effective manner. If you really need to vent or seek advice about whatever you're doing, choose someone, as I mentioned before, that you trust, who can offer an objective.
yeah, and equally conservative in how they, they're not going to turn around and say something about you. So you're looking for that same level of confidentiality in somebody else that you're talking with that you're talking to us about.
Yes, I that just reminded me of something else as well. If you resolve a conflict discreetly, that preserves your image and it demonstrates a high level of emotional intelligence and respect for others.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm almost done here. Number 6, new ideas. This is something you're going to resonate well with what you do with Idea Pros, Tessa, that when you keep your new ideas secret,
Oh, yes.
that's being wise. That's an essential strategy for protecting your creativity. So sharing your goals and projects with people who do not even share the same values or goals or maybe even the same ambitions, that can, as I mentioned before, demotivate you and divert you from your original vision. Imagine you have a brilliant idea and decide to share it with someone who does not have the same work ethic or understanding of what it takes to achieve success. This person may inadvertently undermine your enthusiasm by questioning the viability or the importance of your idea. And then as a result, you start then doubting yourself. And then what? Then you lose the drive to turn your vision into the reality. Think of, again, another iconic figure I thought of, Steve Jobs. They kept many of their ideas secret until they were ready to present them to the world. And what did that do? That ensured that nothing interfered with their creative process. So when you share your ideas with someone who lacks that ability to execute them, they also result in your idea being dismissed. And you know what I'm going to say next, or worse, stolen.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So share your ideas only with those who will elevate, motivate, and encourage you to move forward. That is what's fundamental. It's better to keep your ideas private. If you not have someone that you trust, right, or an advocate, remember, the initial phase of an idea is the most vulnerable.
Yes.
The excitement of something new can be stifled. It's like any little word of doubt or misplaced criticism then protects the idea during that gestation phase. So
Yes.
in you want to grow, you want to strengthen the confidence to execute it fully. Keeping your ideas private is a practice that is going to protect your creativity, preserve your enthusiasm, as I mentioned, and ensures that your visions are not going to be, yeah, I did mention that. They're not going to be stolen, right? So remember what we learned today about keeping certain things private. Preserve your elegance and security. We also discussed the importance of protecting your financial status. We also talked about intimate relationship details. What else? New ideas, goals and achievements, acts of charity we talked about.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Each of these points is going to be crucial for maintaining that control over your life. The other thing I'm going to say is avoid negative influences.
Mm-hmm.
I will leave you with this. Think about the last time you ever had an experience where oversharing ended up causing problems.
I think
That's it.
thank you. I think there's a lot to think about in today's episode. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're quite welcome.
I love the information, and feel free to let us know in the chat if you have experience with this, or if you have any questions, obviously. But we are here every Friday at noon Eastern time to bring information about, you have some of the projects that you've been working on that we feature every now and then. We have great advice, all of the information that you, as someone who's helping people to think in a futuristic way and really make difference in the world. Those topics are here every Friday. So if you haven't already, hit the bell so you can get notifications when we go live on those. Thank you, Regan. I appreciate